Tiny Tina's Wonderlands is the newest addition in the Borderlands franchise, though it isn't a main entry. The series isn't a stranger to spin-off titles. In fact, this game would be the third spin-off title right after the pre-sequel and Tales from the Borderlands. The games have actually always done a very good job at keeping everything canon with each other. Despite the fact that they're not main entries, an effort is made to weave them into a certain part of the story. And this video is about where Tiny Tina's Wonderlands belongs in the timeline because, unexpectedly, it's a bit more complicated than you might imagine. There's a short answer and there's a long answer. The long answer I felt needed much more time to explain, hence why the length of this video isn't 20 seconds. But if you're only interested in the short answer, then what I've concluded is before Borderlands 3, but after everything else. So if that's all you came here for, then there you go. But here's why that wasn't a very simple conclusion to make. Also, spoilers for parts of the story in case you care about that. Many details throughout this game fit many points of the timeline. From personality to characters to even location, nothing quite seemed like a snug fit for anything. I think most people assumed it was after her Dragon's Keep DLC, but before Borderlands 3. But where exactly within that time span matters as well. Things like Tales from the Borderlands and the fight for Sanctuary all take place after Borderlands 2 as well, within about an 8 to 10 year time gap. So placing this game isn't as simple as after Dragon's Keep. So I guess we should first start with the past and why I've seen some people might have thought it took place before Borderlands 2. Throughout the game, we hear echo logs from someone only referred to as the Note Taker, and once you beat the game, we learn that it was actually Roland all along. Roland was the one who introduced Tina to bunkers and badasses and the one who led her throughout her first campaign when she was a player. But the thing about these scrolls, as was the same for how echo logs worked in previous entries, is that they're all from the past. They're just a recorded moment in history that we get to hear. So no, this game is not a prequel to Borderlands 2. But single-handedly, the biggest hurdle for me to wrap my head around where this all took place was in part due to Tina herself. At various moments throughout the game, Tina expresses her loneliness and fear of being alone. She's afraid that Fret and Valentine won't like her and they'll just leave her all alone.
It's just, you didn't like Sara, and you probably don't like me, and you're gonna leave and I'm gonna be all alone again.
While the game doesn't focus on this very often, the problem with this is that it's very unfitting for a post-Borderlands 2 Tina. I get it, she has trauma of being alone from when after her parents died. But when a clear point in a character's development is made, it should put an end to that chapter or problem. That's the point of character development. And the conclusion of Dragon's Keep ends on this moral message.
And in the days to come, they'd think of their fallen friends, of the adventures they shared, both real and imaginary. And they'd remember that no matter how bad things got, they were never truly alone so long as they had each other.
Tina nor any of them are alone anymore because they now all have each other. They may not be blood, but they are their family. It's a bookmark ending to Tina's grief about losing Roland, but also loneliness as he wasn't the only one who cares about her. This is precisely the reason I was having such an abrasive reaction to placing this game after Borderlands 2. Because with this loneliness fear of hers, it shouldn't have existed post-Assault on Dragon's Keep. If you watched my review video, I levied criticism against Tina, and this was that criticism. In fact, I found her personality here most fitting to be before the events of Borderlands 2, but after she had met Roland, precisely where others might have thought this game took place because of the scrolls. It would have made sense that at this moment in time, she'd never had anyone in her life really, and she was still afraid of being alone after seemingly having made 2 new friends. And on top of that, I thought the setting they were in might have been her cave before she ever built any of it. Remove the buildings and everything originally there, and that's the set piece. What if Fret and Valentine helped build her small little home? But it's impossible for this to be the case because everything else says it took place after Borderlands 2. The Dragon Lord references Handsome Jack taking his place as the main villain for a short time, which only happened after he killed Roland.
No, wait, there was that one other guy. The sorcerer, job-stealing hack. Handsome, though. A handsome hack.
Tina's game board the first time was very small and simplistic, but this time around it's massive and upgraded, as if she's had more time to accrue resources. And on top of that, her character design is a great mixture between her Borderlands 2 and 3 character model. She's obviously much closer to how she looked in Borderlands 2 in age. She has the bandage over her nose, the ribbon in her hair, and her clothes are how they used to be. But the mask she wears in 3 is part of her design as well, as if she's starting to expand into new fashion choices. Her design alone tells you it's between 2 and 3. But where exactly between 2 and 3 is important. A lot of people have been placing it after Dragon's Keep, but before Tales from the Borderlands and before the fight for Sanctuary. But that can't be the case. The biggest factor for me placing it ahead of all of the other materials so far is because of Brick. Brick is in his Borderlands 3 outfit. And while some might say that's not inherently important, I would agree if there wasn't narrative significance behind his design. Firstly, he has 3 dog paws around his neck to commemorate his deceased pets. Every main entry he seems to add 1 paw, as every time he seems to get a new dog, it unfortunately dies. But the most important thing is that he still has the B-Team badge on him, and B-Team wasn't formed until after the fight for Sanctuary. And considering the fight for Sanctuary took place years after Borderlands 2, Tina during Wonderlands has to be around 16 to 18 years old, at least 3 to 5 years older than she was in Borderlands 2. This is the reason it was so hard for me to place where this game was in the timeline, because Tina's fear of loneliness feels completely out of place for this moment in history. Not only does it undermine the message of Dragon's Keep, but she's also part of B-Team and has Brick and Mordecai looking after her as her parental figures. As well as Krieg might have even still been part of the team at this moment because of how early into B-Team it must have been. On top of that, she has actual custody of the real butt stallion, which we've still yet to see even from Borderlands 3, and why they're in a cave, I have no idea. But if we were to look at everything and had to place this game, it would have to be the furthest event in the timeline after the fight for Sanctuary, but obviously still before Borderlands 3. I know this video felt a lot more like criticism against it, and it kind of was. But placing this game was a lot more difficult than it should have been. But anyway, that's what I've concluded. Let me know what you guys think about my thoughts in the comments below. Do you think Tiny Tina's Wonderlands takes place much earlier in the timeline? Or do you think where I've placed it is a good fit? Let me know your reasoning in the comments below, and until next time, I'll see you in the next video.